If you don't agree with the fight for 15, if you don't agree with raising the national minimum wage to $15 an hour, you don't like black people. You want black people to continue to suffer and make starvation wages. Welcome to Escaping the Echo Chamber. Simple fact is, I completely and 100%ly disagree with that statement. Why? Well, because several reasons. One, I don't think the $15 minimum wage will actually work. Two, there's evidence for that. There's reports that have been done. There's actual facts, and you can witness what's happened in states where the $15 minimum wage has been implemented. But ultimately, it comes down to this point. Why are so many black people making minimum wage? I am less concerned with making sure black people at minimum wage go from $7.25 to $15 an hour to making sure that black people aren't on minimum wage. That's the problem to me. Why are so many black people on minimum wage? Why are they making, how about instead of focusing on raising minimum wage, make it so that black people aren't stuck at minimum wage jobs? And what does this boil down to? This boils down to several things. First things, education. And so now you may think I'm saying, oh, black people need to get educated, and I'm saying the educational system sucks. See, I'm not criticizing the black people who don't go past high school. I'm not even criticizing black people who drop out of high school. I'm one of them. I dropped out of high school. Do you know why? It was a waste of my time. See, there was a silly thing they did in school, and such a silly thing they expected in school. They expected me to show up to pass. Now, it sounds like I'm joking, but no, here's what I mean. They expected me to show up to class, regardless, just in order to pass the class, regardless of whether I knew the information or not. So there were several classes that I would miss because I was working off the books anyway. I saw school as a waste of time, and I was like, listen, I need to make money, so I'm going to get a job. So I had an off the books job that I was doing instead of going to school. But what happened is I would go into class on test days. I would make sure to be there on test days. I would take the test. I would pass the test. So now there's two classes in particular I want to talk about with this. One was my English class and one was my math class. My English class, the entire time that I was in that class, I had missed, I think, about maybe 12 or 13 days. Now, the most unexcused absences you can have is 10. Anything over 10, and according to the rules, they have to fail you. Whereas with my math class, I had been there maybe 13 times the entire class. So I remember when I picked up my report card that semester, and I knew I was going to fail English because I had talked to the English teacher, and she was like, listen, I know you know the material, but the AP, the assistant principal, won't let me pass you because you have too many absences. So I have to fail you. I had not had a conversation with my math teacher, but this was the first time I actually looked at my report card, and I saw that in fact, it was that semester. Yeah. So it was the third term of that semester. And I looked at the first two terms, and he had passed me for all three terms. And I was like, wait a minute, is this a mistake? Did he accidentally give me somebody else's grade? So I went and talked to him and said, hey, how come you passed me? This might be a mistake, and somebody else might have gotten my grade. He goes, no, I passed you because you knew the material and you didn't need to be in my class. You'd show up on test days, pass the test. There was no reason for you to be in my class. That just shows. So he was clearly not the norm. He was somebody that said, hey, if this is the purpose of this class, then you should, if you know the information, you should be able to pass without showing up if you know the information, and I can verify that you know the information. But that goes to talk about and goes to show what school is actually about. It's not about educating people. It's not about giving you certain skills. And even before we get to the types of classes, the fact is they're trying to train you. They're trying to condition you to just accept a certain type of life. That's one of the problems with the educational system. The other problem is the actual curriculum, that the things you're being taught don't have actual practical usage. Because if they did, that would mean that the people graduating from high school wouldn't just be eligible for minimum wage jobs. They'd be able to provide for themselves. So why is it that people who are graduating from high school still are getting the same crappy jobs that people who dropped out of high school? Or dropped out of school, period. It's showing you that the educational system is not designed for your benefit. It's not designed for our benefit. It's designed for the benefit of, to like mass produce a working class and a permanent working class that will just be just like on an assembly line. An assembly line of workers is what the schools are mass producing. And so when you talk about why there are so many black people, it's because the educational system sucks that we are choosing to put up with. So if we want to, one of the things we need to do is get rid of this educational system, is alter it for now, but with the aim of getting rid of it. Because immediately things need to change. Things need to have changed yesterday with the stuff that's covered and the time that's being wasted of our children in these ridiculous schools. But the evidence is what's happening when people are graduating from these schools. The fact that now people say, "Oh, you need to have a degree in order to get a good job." Then why did we just waste 13 years in your crappy education, your crappy school system? It took you 13 years to teach me how to work at McDonald's? Are you serious? It took you 13 years to teach me how to work at Dwayne Reed? You've got to be joking. Because if it took you 13 years, then y'all are incompetent, and your whole system needs to be abolished. It actually does need to be abolished, but it's clear. Like if that's as good as you can do as far as educating people, you're horrible at your job. You suck. You're trash. But I look at this and I see people making the wrong points, but they're making the wrong points on purpose. So they're advocating for this $15 minimum wage because it's going to help black people, despite the fact that they're ignoring why black people are in this position, why such significant numbers of black people are in this position to begin with. I'm like, wait a minute. Why is there such a focus on getting a job as opposed to starting a business? And a lot of that is because we don't know how to start businesses. And that's the problem. But if we're looking at it from a standpoint of starting businesses, we'll be like, okay, no. Because when you start raising the minimum wage and you're making these extra regulations, you're now making it harder for regular people to start their own businesses. You're increasing the cost. You're making it so that you need to have, you're raising the threshold of where you need to be in order to be able to afford to start your own business. So you're really not helping. You're actually creating another obstacle to financial independence. But this is how you have to approach the situation and realize that they're not actually trying to solve problems. They're trying to manage symptoms. The large numbers of black people who are making minimum wage is a symptom of a larger problem. It's bad and it appears to be its own problem, but it's a symptom of a larger problem. It's time to start focusing on the larger problems. It's time to start getting to the roots of these bigger problems. That's how you improve people's lives. But there's so many people who don't actually want to improve people's lives. And it goes to show, because when I ran for office, that was one of the things I was talking about. I was talking about overhauling the educational system. Finance, economics, entrepreneurship, and business management. These things needed to be taught in our schools. And I remember somebody says to me, but if I said we do this, and that way our kids can graduate and not have to work for somebody else. They can be bosses. They can start their own businesses, and they don't have to settle for minimum wage jobs. And somebody looked me in the face and said, "But who will do the minimum wage jobs?" That's literally what this person said to me, and I was furious. Because now I'm having these debates on Twitter, and I'm seeing that question over and over from these socialists, from these heroes. These are supposed to be the good guys, and they keep asking, who will do the minimum wage jobs? That's what they want black and brown people to be stuck at. They want people to serve them Starbucks coffee. They want people to be waiting on them at their brunches. This is what they want. This is what I refuse to accept. And this is what the black community as a whole should refuse to accept. To being relegated to a permanent worker class, a permanent servant class for socialist scumbags. No, I reject that. I refuse to accept that. And I know that we can and should be doing better. But that's why we have to stop listening to people who don't actually have our interests at heart. They've done a great job of spinning the issues, of pretending to be the people that actually care about you when they don't. Their concern is preserving a way of life and comfort for themselves, and you comfortable enough at the bottom. That's all I have for you today. As always, give me a thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, give me a thumbs down. Feel free, give me a thumbs down. But if you're going to give me a thumbs down, make sure to comment below why. Don't just give me a thumbs down, run and hide. Say why, and I will address it either in the comment section or in a future video. Thank you. I'll see you next time.